Spare Element, Episode 25, recorded 5 June 2013.
Hello, episode 25.
Hola.
Hello.
This is Clay.
And this is Vito.
I'm Ron Braun.
This is Wolfie.
And I'm Tom Burtch.
Our guest tonight.
Yes, we have a wonderful guest. He is the
De
facto historian for the, see if I get this right, San Francisco Men's Gay Chorus? No, San Francisco
It's
Gay?
on his shirt.
Gay Men's Chorus.com.
Yay, Vito.
Yay.
I think I've got to get you guys to a concert. So
I've been to two over there
so that you
that
can,
loved it.
I go all the time.
I've been to many. I haven't been to San Francisco. L.A. I've been to many L.A. Concerts.
And we were one of the first, Bill and I were one of the first people to get tickets for the Spillover Harvey Milk performance on Wednesday.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's going to be quite the show. I didn't know what to expect. A couple of years ago, the board had decided that they wanted to do something in honor of the 35th anniversary of the assassinations of George Moscone and Harvey Milk, and it just happens to coincide with the 35th anniversary of the Gay Men's Chorus. So this was also, at the time, our new artistic director, Tim Seelig, just came on board. You know, it's kind of a strange concept. How do you do a concert about, the assassination of Harvey Milk? So he, knocked it around, and he kind of bounced some things off of me, and I actually present about an hour-long history of the chorus presentation to the new members when they join, so they get a sense of what this group is all about and where they came from and whose shoulders they're standing on. So anyway, Tim was saying, how in the world do we how do we build a whole concert around Harvey Milk? One of the things that he decided to do is to reach out to some of the composers that he knows, and his concept was he would do at least one act in the concert by submissions from really well-known either straight or gay composers with the whole concept of Harvey Milk as a theme. And one of the first people he contacted was a Broadway composer by the name of Andrew Lippa. Last year, Andrew had composed the music for the Addams Family on Broadway, and just recently he opened his latest show called Big Fish in Chicago to rave reviews, and it's scheduled for its Broadway opening in October. Interestingly, some of the reviews said, generally you do a out-of-town tryout to fix little things that need tweaking in a show. One of the I think it was the New York Times reviewer who reviewed the Chicago performance said he doesn't need to change a thing. This thing can go to Broadway just the way it is. Wow. So anyway, that's the caliber of the guy. And Tim sent him an email and kind of laid out what the concept was and asked him if he'd like to submit a piece. And the way Tim tells the story is he had barely hit the send button and he got a reply back, and Andrew Lippis said, "Please call me right this minute." And so Tim picked up the phone. He'd never spoken to this guy before. And he said, I get your concept. You want an hour's worth of music. He says, I want to do the whole thing. And wow. He has engaged a guy by the name, oh gosh, it's flown out of my head. His last name is Cohen, who is a Broadway producer. He was one of the producers of the film Milk with Sean Penn. And Tim went back to New York to do a reading, kind of like a stage reading of the show with the music. He said, I don't know if you guys ever watched the show Smash, but, it's like, this big open dance studio and everybody's singing and dancing and putting the thing together. In one episode of Smash, it was kind of like the early review for the critics, let them see a song or two. So that's the way it was set up. There's a little kind of seating area with all the Tim was just pinching himself at all the important people in this room, and Broadway stars and other producers and things like this. So he's sitting there and he's listening to the music for the first time. He hasn't heard any of this music before. The reaction of the audience to this piece was, off the charts. And then Tim came back and presented the music to the chorus, and we just have totally embraced it. It's really interesting. There are some songs called, there's one called Friday Night in the Castro that just makes you want to get out of your seat and dance.
That's so funny. I haven't heard of this.
And,
I was talking to some people from the chorus, and they were.
Yeah.
I was saying Friday, Friday, that silly song, and they thought I was referring to that song, Friday Night in the Castro.
Well, it's
That's
funny.
what they were talking about.
We are all on secrecy on pain of death. Normally we try and advertise our concerts with little audio or video snippets. We post them on Facebook and things, and because this is a Broadway producer and it's we don't own the rights to it. Andrew Lippert retained the rights. He doesn't want anybody to know anything about this show until we open the curtains for the second act on Wednesday, the 26th of June.
What a great way to celebrate 35 years.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And all of the history.
I'm really excited about that. So get your tickets.
Yes,
please. It's a big. Don't be fooled just because it's a big venue doesn't mean it won't sell out.
Yes, that's true.
You can sell at the Castro Theater for the Christmas show 3 nights in a row.
And sell out Davies Symphony Hall twice.
Boom.
Has the chorus done any kind of fundraising for AIDS charities, kind of like Tim's doing the
AIDS Ride?
The AIDS Ride this week?
Yes, absolutely. We've concerts to benefit women's health and breast cancer awareness and support of music in the schools. We've had extremely successful effort a couple of years ago, partnership with Mission High. We're able to bring music back into Mission High. They were losing their one of the teaching positions, and our fundraising efforts helped them keep choral program going.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
And as irony would have it, their conductor, who was a very, very handsome straight man, so enjoyed working with the chorus and the support that the chorus was giving to his school that he joined the chorus for about 2 concerts, I believe.
Wow.
You allow straight people?
Well, he's the only one I know of.
He was handsome.
You don't have to pass a litmus test to join the chorus. The only requirement is that you identify as male.
Okay.
We have had a female director for 11 years. We've had our current office manager is a gay woman, and she has been in the position probably close to 15 years. We had a straight accompanist for over 11 years, and during the time that he was our accompanist, his children were born, and we embraced his kids. And
that's so nice. You're straight friendly.
They had all these gay uncles.
And aunties?
Now what else? But you've worn a lot of hats.
Well,
in
yes.
This organization.
I have not been around since day one. The chorus was formed in 1978, and it's significant that we're trying to honor the 35th anniversary of Harvey's and Mayor Moscone's assassinations, because the chorus was formed only 5 weeks before the assassinations occurred. The chorus was formed, there were no social media, there was no, in those days the BAR was a single mimeograph sheet of paper, and was the BAR because it was...
That's a Bay Area Reporter,
Bay Area
right?
Reporter, yes, that's our gay
Local
newspaper
news,
here. But it was a bar rag. It was a single piece of paper that was basically about bar news, what was going on in the bars. And in 1978, the gay venues were bushes, baths, and bars. You were either you were in one of the 3. If you were lucky enough, you might be in a city that might have a gay baseball team, but that was about it. There was nothing else to do. There were no tennis clubs or no AIDS rides or no bicycle clubs or anything like that. There are no gay characters on TV.
Podcasts.
No podcast, that's for sure. Or no MP3s.
No internet.
Excuse me, but
No
Charles
internet.
Nelson Riley was certainly on television in 1970.
But was he out?
Paul Lynde was on television in
But was he out?
1970.
Liberace was on television, but was he out?
Oh,
Elton
right.
John.
Elton John, exactly.
Oh, he was married, I think.
I was living in Washington, D.C. in 78, and the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus was the first chorus in the country to have the word gay in their name. There were other choruses in the United States that were either directed by gay people or had a large gay membership, but they weren't in your face out with the word gay in their name. In 1981, only 3 years after the chorus formed, they decided that they would go on a 9-city national tour, basically spread the word that gay was good. If there's been this widely disseminated, belief is not the word I'm looking for, but the opinion that if you know a gay person, it's hard to hate a gay person. If a friend of yours happens to be gay, if he comes out and you've already loved him and been a friend with him, it's not likely that you're going to turn your back on him.
Well, the first thing you go, duh.
It's because we're fabulous.
But anyway, so the chorus goes on this tour. I'm living in Washington, and the chorus came and sang at the Kennedy Center. I had a box seat. I was absolutely blown away by the quality of their sound, even in 1981, 3 years after they were formed. I remember there's a review in the Washington Post written by Paul Hume, who was not easy to please. His comment, if I remember the phrasing precisely, was Washington has never heard finer choral singing. And that is high praise from Paul Hume.
Well, duh. When I go to a birthday party and the gay guys sing, that's amazing. I love it. Compared to, in the office.
It's harmonious.
Happy birthday, it's terrible.
Anyway, my life changed that day. I was not aware of it, but a group of people in Washington got together, and the week that the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus was in Washington, D.C., within the week, Washington formed their own chorus, and I heard about their Christmas concert in 1981, their first concert, while I was at work. I was working second shift with my lover at the time at Northwest Airlines, and I actually punched out and left work early so I could go to this concert. And when I got home that night, my lover was sitting there watching TV, and I said, "We're changing our life. We're going on day shift. We're changing our days off because I have to sing with this group." In 1985, when I wound up moving to San Francisco, I just couldn't wait to join the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus.
Wow.
Now, there was the word gay wasn't in any of the choruses really until the San Francisco one, right?
That's correct.
And then it spread?
It did spread, and it spread quickly. New York, Los Angeles, those cities formed choruses almost at the same time that San Francisco did, but we were the first. Interestingly, by 1982, there was already a movement to get these choruses together for, you wouldn't exactly call it a convention, but to get together and sing. And
Conference?
So the first conference, yeah. So the first one was held here in San Francisco in 1982. And there were something like 11 choruses, many of them from the West Coast, but choruses from all over the place. At that time, they decided to basically form an organization called Gala Choruses. It's Gay and Lesbian Association of Choruses. And in the early years, the first national convention was in 83 in New York at Lincoln Center. Then in 86, we were in Minneapolis. In 89, in Seattle. In 92, in Denver. And then after that, we went to every 4 years, and the last one was held in 2012 in Denver again, 20 years later in Denver. By the time of the last convention, there were 6,000 delegates. Cities vie now, the Visitor and Convention Bureaus of various cities vie to have this group come and sing because it's such an economic engine.
What's the percentage of lesbian choruses?
Well, there are mixed choruses. There are lesbian choruses. The largest, well, this is going to get me into a separate discussion. The largest all-women's chorus that belongs to the Gay and Lesbian Association of Choruses is the Dallas Women's Chorale. Did you notice a missing word there? There's no Dallas Gay Women's Chorale. It's just the Dallas Women's Chorale. There's also a men's chorus in Dallas, which is excellent. It's called the Turtle Creek Chorale. Did you notice a missing word there? Did you notice what city I was talking about? We're talking about Dallas.
The Closeted Turtle Creek Chorale.
Well, I know Austin is one of the most out cities,
It
right?
is.
Or
It is.
liberal cities, but Dallas is pretty conservative, I
Dallas
guess.
is pretty
They have a
conservative.
big gay area.
Can be.
though.
Oh, they do, but you're not out. You're that's your
You
second.
don't
that's your
talk
second
about
life.
it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought
sorry,
Dallas
sorry,
was all
sorry.
about queers or steers.
Yeehaw.
Yeah, and you try to write them both, don't you?
As often as I can.
There's another little corollary to that I want to bring up. Kind of a piece of ancient history, but it deserves repeating. So the first choral convention that the Turtle Creek Chorale attended was in 1992 in Denver, and Tim Seelig, who is at the moment the artistic director of the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus, was the artistic director of the Turtle Creek Blank Chorale at the time. And
Homo Chorale.
Future gays of America.
And it was within weeks before the convention that Tim was interviewed by some type of local magazine in Dallas, and he was asked the point-blank question, what is the Turtle Creek Blank Chorale doing at a gay and lesbian choral convention? Is the Turtle Creek Chorale a gay chorus? And Tim said unequivocally, no, the Turtle Creek Chorale is not a gay chorus.
Wait, now did he say no or did he say no?
No. It's hard to...
Not really.
It's hard to take those inflections in print. So anyway, it was very interesting. The rumor went around like instantly around the gay choral movement that here was this non-gay chorus coming to sing at our convention.
The
Dallas
nerve.
people were persona non grata, and they found it very hard to make friends and very hard to talk to anybody. They were just ostracized. However, when they got on stage and sang, they were spectacular because Tim is just a master at what he does. So it's just kind of funny. There's still no gay in Dallas, but at
But
least
he's
not-
here now,
at
and
least
he's
not
broke
probably.
free.
fabulous.
But just a little swing back to your question about lesbian choruses. The Dallas Women's Chorale is also extremely large, or was during Tim's tutelage, because Tim started it as well, and they were absolute a force to be reckoned with. They were just an amazing group. I particularly, just a point of personal preference, I tend not to go to women's choruses events. I don't usually find it easy to understand women's voices. They are so high and ethereal. It's like sitting in a
I would think the
cathedral.
lesbian ones would be kind of deep.
I think
Well,
men's,
maybe-
Lesbian bass singer?
men's ears.
Maybe that's what Tim got out of them, because I could
So,
understand what they
We have
said.
a few ideas for next week. Topic ideas.
All women, sorry.
So after a long, hard day of singing and cavorting and doing all the things that one does when they're a member of a gay men's chorus, Tom, do you ever just need a physical release like
Oh,
massage?
please,
Ooh.
please, what are you talking about?
I was talking about a massage.
Wow.
Dirty bird.
Are you offering?
Well, I am certified.
What? Wait a minute. I thought you were certified in animal massage.
Yeah, but prior to that, I became certified in human massage.
You've never offered me a massage.
Well, humans are animals.
No. Same thing.
I work hard for the money. Emphasis on the word money. Honey.
I would have given you $5.
Right?
I'm a big advocate for a massage. I think as a healthcare worker, it helps me to de-stress, and there's proven benefits of your immune system and cortisol levels, and I think that more people should get it. It's
So when
healing.
when the guy is kneading my back, I need to think my cortisol levels are lowering. This is awesome.
Well,
No.
they're releasing.
Your job is just to breathe
Oh.
and let go.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
It must be hard
Let
for
your
you.
mind
It's-
correct.
You're not in control. You must. You have to concede.
What? I don't have any control issues. What are you talking about? My favorite part
Oh, here's
is
another topic.
Apologies. Next week's Harvey.
bitches.
Okay.
I like looking up when they're massaging your shoulders, and you look up and right in their frontal area, right there when they're massaging.
I like all of it.
You like all of it.
Yeah.
Well, getting to what you're saying, Ron, about the health issues, we live in a very touch-deprived society. Certainly American culture. I can't speak for all of Western culture. And so much so that I was just at a high school graduation, and, people were vying for spaces and squeezing in, and this gentleman came up and kind of put his hands on this guy's shoulders, like giving him a big squeeze. Hey, how you doing? And the guy just turned around and all but hissed at him. I don't like that. You know?
Well, maybe because he didn't give permission.
Well, it could be that, or it could be a homophobia thing, or just. But frankly, so many people there are many people in our society even today that the only time that they're ever touched is by a family member. And even then, there are a lot of families that don't hug and touch. And so then, especially men, the only time they're ever touched is it's a sexual thing.
Right.
And, so that's what's so great about, the bear community especially, is we're all about the big hugs, and.
Yeah, I'm a hugger.
Yeah.
I tell people, they try to shake my hand. I said, no, I'm going to hug you. I'm fat, I'm warm, and this is what you get.
I grew up in Wisconsin, and in a Lutheran environment, and it's not a touchy-feely kind of place.
No.
And when I moved to San Francisco, and I started hearing about cosmic California things and about massage.
Totally, man.
I, was a little bit hesitant to try it. And boy, I'll tell you, it took like 1 or 2 massages, and I was absolutely hooked.
Honestly, my first massages, Vito, was when I was like 34. Was my first massage. I'd never had one.
That would be about the same with me.
Mine was, for me, it was probably the first time I was touched by a gay man without having like a relationship, and it was just very interesting.
Wow.
This is Clay. I have an interesting story about the Midwest. After I got my certification in massage here in California, I have some dear friends that live in Indiana, and I would spend a lot of time visiting them. And so I'm a firm believer. I think couples massage is really good. I think that it's really important for a couple for each of them to witness the other receiving physical pleasure.
That's a good point.
And learning, oh, okay, he or she likes this rubbed or that rubbed, and and just watching and learning, because it's very neutral experience. And I knew them; it was a heterosexual couple. I knew them really well, and I said, all right. So they were both like, well, yeah, we'll be your guinea pigs. You can massage us. And they neither had had a professional massage before. And the husband's like, I'm ready, and stripped naked, laid down on the table. She was ready to go. And his wife.
You have that effect on men.
Yes, his wife is like, that's my husband. And then so after he was done, she got on the table and she laid down and she had her bra on and her jeans on. So all she took off was her blouse and her shoes and her socks. And so one of the things I learned is when people are a little hesitant, you let them know that their clothes are an obstacle. So when I was working on her back, nice long strokes, get to the bra strap, stop, lift my fingers, go up and over, and continue. So she got that hint really quickly, and the bra goes flying across the room. And then I started. I was working on her lower back, and she's like, "Oh my God!" She goes, "Can you work on my legs?" I'm like, "Yeah, but not through Guess jeans." And so, like 2 seconds later, the jeans are flying one end, the underwear is flying another, and she's just all, and this all, her release happened so quickly because she felt comfortable, and she, we're really good friends. But it's interesting because up until that moment when someone realizes, oh, this is awesome, that fear or that worry or whatever can be overwhelming.
I did the massage envy. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. It's
I've
a chain, but they always use the newbies. So it was very inconsistent. Well, you mentioned that you do it monthly?
Yeah, and you find a good person who, you connect with and you feel comfortable with, but I think that really, I had a massage therapist tell me once, if more people did this, I think the world would be a nicer place. I hate to say it, but I wish this was a discussion instead of guns in the schools or, I think our whole world's a little upside down and inside out. This is clearly, I think, a beneficial thing, and it helps to heal people, and it helps to, relax people and make them a little friendlier and go out in the world and deal with all the crap that's out there,
Well, and I think one of the things that we were talking offline about how the perception is the massage therapist as a healer is absorbing all the stress or whatever. And just to give you a little insight, the way I was trained, I as the massage therapist envision myself in a little bubble, and I'm protected. And that person on the table, they're in their bubble and they're protected. And we're in a bubble together and we're protected from the outside world. But whatever their pain is or their stress or anything that's negative, it's neither good nor bad. It just doesn't belong there. and it just needs to go someplace
Yeah.
else. And it's a great visualization even for yourself. I mean, you'll see me if I'm standing in line, I'll just start massaging, myself, like, oh, okay, relax, calm down.
Oh yeah, that's that point between your fingers and your
It's
thumb?
the systemic balancing point, and if you can get
Yeah.
that little sucker to calm down, the rest of you is going to follow.
Mm-hmm. And then I bought a massager from Brookstone because I just thought it was amazing. I went into the store. It's this thing that fits over your shoulders, and it has little bouncy motors on it that do your neck. What are these muscles called here in your neck?
Oh,
Trapezoids?
The trapezoid.
Trapezius.
That pounds your trapezoids.
I heard you
Bam,
can
bam,
also
bam, bam,
I heard
bam,
you
bam,
can
bam,
also
bam.
use it in different positions. Vito.
No.
Like a saddle or something. I
and I will say this:
It's
the pink,
specific for that.
the
and
pink
it's-
elephant in the room is the happy ending, and some people do that, and some people don't. I know it was really important for me to be very legitimate in my massage early on,
Mhm.
but I started going to a group over in the East Bay that was very much into the kind of the erotic, form of massage,
Mhm.
and learned about that. And honestly, for me, I'm just happy getting a massage. I can have all the sex I want. Not bragging, it's just a reality. and
Just saying.
and
You
know
go
what?
play.
And you know what? My left hand's really damn good at its job.
There you
So
go.
at the end of the day, I don't need someone else to give me a happy ending. And if I'm going to do that way, it's there. But it doesn't make it bad or good. It's another
Exactly.
option. So,
Yeah.
well, we have reached the halfway point. So for your bearradio.net listeners, we'll be back next week. And for everybody on iTunes or our website, we'll be back in just a few moments.
In the
Absolutely.
meantime, we're going into our break room for a nice massage.
Oh, if only.
We'll let you know if we have happy endings.
Oh,
Yeah.
ooh. And we're back.
All right.
Ta-da.
Part 2.
Part two.
Yes. So our
Episode 25.
Deja vu.
and our guest is Tom Burtch, the de facto historian of the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus. And we were talking a little bit during the break about your experience as a chorus up at the Skywalker Ranch.
Yes, we've become very friendly with many of the engineers at Skywalker Ranch. We did a recording there in 1996 called Naked Man, which was a 14-movement piece which we premiered in 1996 at the Gala Convention in Tampa, Florida. That became the most performed work in all of the gay choral movement within about 2 years. Like every chorus had done Naked Man. Anyway, fast forward a couple of years, and our director at the time, Stan Hill, who I'd like to actually mention a few things about Stan's tenure and the AIDS crisis and how it affected the chorus, but we'll get to that in a second. But Stan had the great idea of doing an entire concert of ABBA music. And it was only about a year and a half after Naked Man. We were riding on a high, and we were singing in those days at Masonic Auditorium up on Nob Hill, which is a 3,200-seat barn. It's
huge.
and it's not built for singing. It's built for lectures. So it's difficult to sing in that joint. But anyway, we made a CD at Skywalker Ranch, in which it's kind of hard to impress the people who work for George Lucas, but they were very thrilled to make this recording because the engineering of this particular recording required that the 175 members of the chorus at that time all had to have single-ear headphones. You may have seen those being used on like the We Are the World recordings and things that have come since then. But this was the first time, and to my knowledge, the probably still the largest use of single ear headphones that was ever attempted. We had to have that because we had a synthesized click track, it was called, in one ear, but we needed to have the other ear free to hear the sound in the room and hear whether or not we were singing
Chiquitita.
too loud to our...
Chiquitita, tell me the truth.
There you go. You should audition. Anyway, so here we were in this beautiful, beautiful recording studio. You can only imagine, I think one of our topics coming up is going to be Star Wars or Star Trek, and you can just imagine what George Lucas produces. This was recorded in the same room that John Williams. His orchestra plays. You know,
Wow.
It was really.
I
really
saw it on
impressive
Oprah,
place.
and the place looks like it's magic.
It is magic.
And more recently, you recorded your "It Gets Better" video there.
Yes, the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus was the first chorus to produce an "It Gets Better" video. It's called Testimony, and I urge you to go to YouTube, pull it up.
I'll put the link on.
I mentioned in the last hour that the choruses get together currently every 4 years for a festival, and we took Testimony with us to the festival in Denver in 2012, and it was embraced by the 6,000 delegates as almost like an anthem. And it is now kind of like Naked Man. It's nowhere near as big a work. It's like a I don't know, maybe a 10-minute piece.
But it's so personal and it's so intimate.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely get a link to that. Not to put you on the spot because you've spent so much time at Skywalker Ranch, but in our This or That section, cue the music.
It's time for This or That.
Go, Jeff.
Dun, dun, dun.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Do you prefer Star Wars or Star Trek?
Well,
Go.
you're not going to believe this, but my partner just tears his hair out because I'm constantly confusing the two.
Who invited this guest? Oh. Well, I can't even talk to him.
The one guys have big lightsabers, the others don't.
Fabulous.
The phaser.
We go with no man has gone before.
And some have tribbles and some have Wookiees. You know? Hey.
Oh, you know more than you're letting on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but which one is which? I'll fail that test half the time.
We'll have
All
to
right.
put up the link of that picture that blew the mind of so many Trekkies and Star Wars fans where they mixed all the metaphors all at once. I'll
That's
find out.
terrible.
We'll put that
I'm not a big fan of that.
Let's go around this way.
I see
Ron.
that with Doctor Who too. They
Well-
mix things together with Doctor Who, and I don't like it.
I grew up with obviously both. My dad was a big Star Trek fan, and when he was younger, he looked like Captain Kirk. So we always thought it was like watching Dad on TV. But I like Star Wars better for the action, and it was less heady. It was easier to kind of get into it. So I have to say I'm a little bit 5% leaning towards Star Wars.
Who are you?
In Star Wars?
No, you're Ron Braun.
Oh, I'm Ron.
Vito?
So
I
you're
was gonna say, Princess Leia.
Oh, that's why you have cinnamon rolls in your hair.
So you're more of a
Is this an outing?
Star Wars guy.
A
than
little
Star
bit.
Trek guy.
I
I'm
love
not-
them both.
I'm the opposite. I love them both, but I'm more of a Star Trek guy.
Okay.
I
Well,
grew up with the Star Trek when I was, with the family, a big Italian family on Sundays, and that's what the men did. Was we went and we watched.
don't you
Star
have
Trek.
a grandmother that thought everything that happened on TV was real?
That was Nona. Yes.
He shoot that man! Vito, he shoot the man! He's dead!
Who are
She
these?
was in the country for probably 30 years and never spoke a word of English.
Show yourself, tiny songstress.
Yeah. But no, I've always been a Star Trek guy, but I love Star Wars too, so I don't know.
You got to pick one.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
It's this or that.
All right. So someone's
Oh,
geeks.
okay, you're right. It's this or that. So I'll go Star Trek.
All right.
All right.
Someone's geeks hanging out over here. Wolfie.
Doctor Who.
That's not the question.
I know. If I did have to choose between the two, I have to say Star Trek. I do remember the original series quite well, and I liked it because it made you think.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Well, all the Star
Definitely.
Trek stuff used to be morality plays.
Mhm.
You would learn something at the end of the episode. I didn't learn anything from the new movie. I don't know.
The
Other
new-
than how wonderful Benedict Cumberbatch is as an actor.
Oh, that's true.
I haven't
he did a
seen-
great job.
The
You
new
seen
one.
the
Did
new one?
anybody make out with a green lady in it?
Well, it's so
Yes.
trippy with the alternate universe. They haven't done this with Star Wars,
Timeline.
but now they have the alternate.
timeline.
You're right. I'm sorry. Alternate timeline, and they switch things around. I don't want to do a spoiler with the last movie, but it's. I don't know.
Well, it's interesting because I, too, like both, this is Clay, Star Wars and Star Trek, but I have to say that my favorite has been Star Wars. I really love just the whole concept and the way they started right in the middle of the story and they went forward and then they went backwards and, and I even love, like, the parodies, in Living Color when they used to make fun of,
Can the Schwartz be with you?
yeah, or Jar Jar Binks' aunt, Jar Jar Mima,
Okay, just for the Jar Jar Binks comment, you're getting phasered.
Whoa. You don't need a phaser. You could just
All right.
Use the Force.
Apologies
There you go.
to the Jar
I can choke him from across the table.
The
That's
Jar-
what I like about Star Wars.
Was it
Jar Jar-
General Tarkin? You,
Jar Jar Dynasty.
Now, what did you think? Was it a big deal? It was a huge deal for me when I found out that Darth Vader was Luke's father.
I am your father.
Scandal.
It was. It was a huge
Yeah,
deal.
it was
It was a
It
huge
was
thing
pretty
for
big.
me. It was like watching the movie. I was like, they were in the cave, I think. I was like, what?
What was it? Like Cloud City. It was in Cloud City.
I was like, what?
It was? Oh,
Yeah, Cloud City.
was when we found out?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Well, and
What?
going from, and one of the differences was that Star Trek was always TV. Star Wars started
oh,
on the big screen. It was a huge event.
Yeah.
You know,
That was the first movie I ever sat by myself. My parents were there, but we couldn't sit together. And I had to sit in the front, almost to the front, by myself. That was the first movie, Star Wars, that I did that.
Ooh. Did some dirty old man jerk you off?
That was a big boy.
Oh, okay.
I remember Empire Strikes Back because that was actually the first movie that I saw in the theater. And what I remember about it is that I had to use the restroom. When I came back, the movie had ended. And then it was like years before I finally saw the end of it. So I was like, okay, yay!
Well, we tried to
That's
put our
terrible.
Star Wars figures in the freezer to simulate the conditions on the off. Yeah, and it turns out that they just crack in half once you get them out of the freezer.
Oh.
It ended.
Like on eBay.
We cried, and it was pretty sad.
Oh, I love the Family Guy parodies of
Oh,
Star
yeah.
Wars.
That's good
yeah.
stuff.
It was so
It's
cool.
a trap.
Well, speaking of Family Guy and TV shows and Star Trek, let's talk a little bit about TV shows. And a couple of the suggestions have been either when did you stop watching your favorite show, and if so, why? Or do you remember the most epic finale ever for a series?
Well, what recently comes to mind is the Battlestar Galactica finale.
The remake?
The remake totally made me cry. Like, I wasn't expecting it.
Is that the one with the robot that goes beady 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 beady?
No,
That's Buck Rogers.
that's Buck Rogers in the 24th and a half century. Oh,
I just wanted to
funny.
say beady beady beady.
Beady,
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 beady.
beady.
I loved him. Anyway, that was a campy series for sure. Yeah, so that series came to mind when you asked that question. Very
So-
emotional.
So you got all the way to the finale in that one. Have there been any series that you've really been into and then you just stop watching them?
Series interrupt us.
Series interruptus. Well, this last Sunday with Game of Thrones, the red
Spoiler!
wedding. I'll just call it the red wedding. I'm gonna continue watching for sure.
Okay.
But it was very traumatic. Very traumatic.
I stopped watching Desperate Housewives after like third season, and I'm like, oh, it's still on. I didn't know that.
I loved Lost, and then
Oh, God,
I
I
got
love
lost and
Yeah.
lost, and then I don't know what happened. Yeah, I can't tell you when I stopped watching it, but all of a sudden, it wasn't part of my life anymore.
I stuck through to the end of Lost, and I'm glad I did. But we were talking about alternate timelines and things, and alternate universes. My God, trying to figure out where you were and when you were in Lost was certainly.
Yeah, I got
You-
lost too, and
yeah,
I think the writers got lost too. But I remember the ending of MASH. We used to watch that show as a kid, and I was very emotional. I don't know.
Yeah,
That was such
that
a
was an awesome
strong,
finale.
show, and a lot of kind of the characters were well developed to the point where you felt as though you cared about them, or you understood their struggles and whatever. So that was a beautiful.
Which the doctor that died?
Oh God, it must have been McIntyre. Yeah, because the other one I don't even remember his name. Alan Alda lived.
Alan Alda lived, but
PJ or whatever, or something.
Yeah.
I can't remember. But I just remember it being traumatic.
Well, another show that I was really into and I loved was Grey's Anatomy, and I watched that faithfully. And then something happened. I don't know if my work schedule changed or whatever. And even though I had a TiVo at the time, and I could have kept up with it, it just sort of flitted away. And when I watched the reruns of the shows that I saw that really moved me, they still do. But then there's episodes where I'm like, oh, when will this
I'm
be
kind
over?
of like that with True Blood. I liked the first two seasons, And then
Sacrilege.
And then it was like, all right. Then it was like, then I realized it's kind of like a soap opera, except they bleed when they kiss. And I just kind of lost something for me.
Really? No, I've stuck in with True Blood.
Does anybody remember ER?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I stopped watching ER. There was way too much going on outside of the ER. You got way too
Right.
involved with the people's lives, and they lost sight of what the show is really about. And I just said, yeah, I'm interested in these characters, but I don't want an episode, based on their divorce or their children's school play or whatever. They need to be in that ER taking care of people.
Yeah, at some point some shows lose their own kind of
Focus.
Yeah.
Well, Star Trek Enterprise. I actually, I'm a devoted fan, and they lost me.
I stayed with Enterprise. I like Janeway. I like.
That's Voyager.
This is the one with Scott
There's a
Bakula.
medical term called a Janeway lesion, and it kind of, I don't know, it's like her voice, and that's her voice. I couldn't stand it. I was like, somebody please put her on mute.
Voyager was awesome. No, but Enterprise, they did this storyline with the Xindi, and it was just too much.
Talk about
I
a
left.
morality play.
Yeah, and then I came back. Those episodes were great,
Not to change
but they had already lost the audience, and they'd already gotten canceled.
I was thinking too, like, somebody was mentioning with cell phones and with Google Glass and things like that. Like, are we becoming more Borg-like? Are we actually getting an artificial pacemakers and these things that we have? We're getting closer and closer to fusing man and machine.
So
Well, yeah, I mean, like hearing aids are becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. And I saw a guy the other day. He had to have a little wire coming out just to keep it in place. It didn't seem it was functional. It's just to keep it from disappearing into his ear. At some point, it's just going to be implanted, right?
Yeah.
If your ear has an implant in it, you're part machine.
If you have a pacemaker, you're part machine. If you have Google Glass and you come to depend on it, will that be the new species?
I mean, Scarlett has a microchip in her to get her back home. Bill's dad, his pacemaker can be scanned through the skin and recalibrated through the skin. I mean, the lines are starting to blur, baby.
okay.
I want a bionic arm.
Anybody see the either it was 2020 or 60 Minutes? I can't keep those two shows straight either. There was an episode about a woman who either was I think she was paralyzed. They had implanted some electrodes in her brain, and she was able to move an arm, and she actually shook hands with the interviewer.
Yeah.
Wow.
With her thoughts.
With her thoughts, she just made the arm move and shake hands at the time.
She could pick things up. It's pretty crazy, some of the stuff.
And there she is sitting with both of her real arms, atrophied in her lap.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
That's amazing.
I think I read somewhere on probably BBC News or something like that. They had one guy trying to control a helicopter.
Wow.
Yeah, with just his thoughts.
Wow.
And all this talk about technology and humans, wetware, is reminding me of the movie Ghost in the Shell, which is a pretty good anime that sort of deals with this.
It does?
Yeah, kind of, a little bit.
Well, there's a new cell phone that the video stops when your eyes go away. So the cell phone goes when you're looking at it.
Wow.
And so the guy's reading instructions. And so he looks at it, step one, do this, and it stops. He has it reading out loud. So, I mean, our technology, now they're talking about, remember Minority Report where you walk into the store and it's like, oh, hello, Ron Braun. Did you like those pants that you got? We have them now in
I was
three new shades.
Talking about that last week. Yeah.
And, well, now that technology is becoming really close where they can tell, they use it right now to test ads to see when people lose interest.
Yeah.
But there's technology that can read your emotions. And so they're using that to see how people react to ads, to products, and they're getting the price down where they can put this in stores. And
they're using that in a good way too for autistic kids, where they can't read emotions well on faces, and so that same sort of programming is being used to kind of teach them to say, okay, this person looks angry or sad or happy, and it helps them to process people.
Oh, okay.
Well, you talk about technology. Now, I'm an albatross. I'm so old. But I remember growing up and reading Dick Tracy comic books.
Yeah.
And the ultimate thing was the Dick Tracy wrist radio. that was going to be unbelievable when they developed.
Well, I'm hoping that comes
a
out
wrist
soon,
radio.
actually.
Well, they have a wrist radio. It's called the iPod Nano.
Exactly.
And they don't make it anymore, the little square one, but I have the wristband, and I can listen to the radio right on my wristband.
Yep.
You know?
Or even FaceTime on your phone, with the Jetsons. I used to think that's impossible.
Well,
that would never happen.
We were just talking about Star Wars, Star Trek. What about all the, everybody's reading books on screens?
Oh, yeah, here's the report, Captain.
The scanners that the medical officers would use to just, go over your body.
Tricorder.
The pad.
The tricorder, yeah. What is a tricorder but a mini MRI?
Well, and that's an interesting point about these other shows is that I believe a lot of what Gene Roddenberry did was have the wherewithal to dream up this universe of possibilities that would then, that kind of allows a lot of people to say, hey, that would be a cool idea. Let me work on that. Or, it kind of inspires and pulls the future toward it.
A black lady kissing a white guy.
That's
right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I've heard of, interviews with Apple people, and they would say that was one of the things that they were trying to do when they developed the iPad was they were copying stuff. Think of Bluetooth headsets.
Yeah.
Think of Uhura.
Yeah.
And what did she have in her ear? But today's Bluetooth.
It's the same thing with the medical displays. I know that much.
Yeah.
Like the medical displays in Star
Sure.
Trek.
Sure.
Yeah, it's interesting times we live in.
Well, and speaking of all this technology that's come to pass, now we all have our smartphones and our iPads and our devices. What do we use them for? What are your go-to websites? What do you look at, on a regular basis?
Besides porn.
I was just going to say, besides porn?
Well, duh, because the internet is for porn. If we learned anything from Avenue Q, the internet is for porn.
Well,
The truth hurts sometimes,
Well, text messaging has pretty much taken over, really. I mean, the percentage of text messages to calls. So that app is used all the time.
Well,
text
and that was
messaging.
interesting because at this high school graduation, the parents were saying that their kids won't answer the phone. They have to text them. The kids don't talk.
Yeah.
They
And
text. That's all they do.
I really wonder where the world is going in that regard. You hear about kids that sit in their rooms all day long and play video games, violent or nonviolent, and they're texting each other. They're not interfacing. They're not in a room with another human being. I just really wonder about the social skills
Absolutely.
that are going to come out of this.
They're also getting together, though, and using them to get together and do things also.
Yeah, that's true.
That said, I do know somebody who was dating somebody else who, when they got into an argument, the other guy just couldn't do it in person, so he would go into another room and then they start texting back and forth. I'm serious.
I should try that. I like that.
Wow.
Interesting.
You're
Oh.
the bitch, LOL.
I said LOL. So it made it all funny.
So it's like
Smiley face.
we should just talk about this. I mean,
Wow.
but another app I use, is the iPod that's built into the iPhone, which is
For
really
your music.
cool. I use Pages because of the iPhone, because of our page, the Bear Element page, and then the Facebook app. Those are really my go-to. Google Maps,
Calendar for me.
Calendar, yeah.
Well, I don't think I've looked at a paper for movie information in probably 5 years. That's all online.
And if you try and look at the paper for movie information these days, you don't get it. There's I think it's it might even be AMC. It's one of the big movie chains. Doesn't even advertise in the Chronicle. You have to go online to get their movie listings.
Well, I think that's good in that it saves trees, and paper wastage. But some people say, well, there's electricity and all this kind of crap. I don't know. But I think that's the benefit of a lot of these things is there's less things being wasted.
Well, for me, I back in the video day craze, about all I could play was Pong and Duck Hunt, and so for me, I like to play Words with friends, but all my friends have moved on; they're doing other things, and so that that app will probably be deleted soon because I can't get anybody to bounce back on it. But for Bill, he likes a website called Tiny Buddha, and what he really likes about it is that the people that post on there aren't necessarily subject matter experts; they're just people like you and I who have something to share. and it's about making life better, or trying to feel better or adapt to difficult situations, and which is one of Buddha's claims to fame. But this is real people sharing real stories about what they have to say. And
Oh, wow.
It's like, hold me
I'll check that
closer,
out.
tiny Buddha.
I'll tell you one thing: you can't exactly get a good massage from an app.
You gotta have that personal.
Well said. Well
You got to
said.
have a little personal touch there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, go-to websites. I mean, I have like 10 or 15 websites come up automatically on Chrome. I pre-program it. Drives Tarek crazy. He hates it.
But you mentioned Tarek, since he's a foreigner to this land, he sometimes needs clarification. What's that website that he likes to go to for, like,
Oh, Urban Dictionary.
Urban Dictionary? That's
He uses
cool.
that a lot. I use that a lot too, because I'll hear something and I'll go,
Ooh.
not LOL, but maybe a new one that I haven't heard of before. And so what does that mean?
Or like Klopen, when you're working retail and you have to close one night and open the next morning. Klopen. It's a word.
I like guano psychotic.
Guano, psychotic, batshit
They-
crazy.
Batshit crazy. It came up in reference to a certain Minnesota congresswoman.
Guano.
Here's one of the words of the day: justice boner. Feeling of excitement when exacting petty revenge, or simply witnessing someone get what they deserve. Justice boner.
See?
See, like you've always wanted to know what a verp is? That's a burp laced with a little vomit.
Oh, that's good.
I just
sick.
burped.
Yeah.
I think the real definition of justice boner is, or what was it? What was the not justice boner?
Yeah, that's it. Justice boner.
boner. That's what the Republicans all think the head of the House of Representatives is.
Right.
So if there's anything you
Tom
don't
Burtch will be
understand,
here all the tip your waitress.
I found a site called everythingsounds.org, which is for audiophiles, and if you like to listen or interested in anything to do with audio, there's a lot of information on there.
And I highly recommend you look up the sound that a Tasmanian devil makes. My nephews and I giggled and giggled for hours. And one of my favorite clips I'll have to find on YouTube is Jim Carrey when he's doing the Grinch as the postman. Because I work at P.O. Plus now, and somebody's putting stuff in people's boxes. Like, hate.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
Hate.
you're supposed to be neutral. What happens when you get to my box? Hey.
Yeah, that's that's not tapioca pudding that's stuck in the inside of your box there.
Oh, my God.
There you go. All right, well, after that, I guess we should wrap it up with some back scratches. Anybody want to go first?
Yeah, I'd like to Ron. Give a I don't know if this is a bat scratch, but I'm doing DJing with John and Daniel
This is shameless self-promotion.
it
That's
kind
what
of
this is.
That's okay. That's you
at
can do
Daddy
that.
Saddle on Friday, but I'm thankful that they asked me, and
Yeah, back scratch.
I wanted to thank them because I'm happy to be part of that.
Cool.
Great. I'd like to back scratch Tim for doing the AIDS ride. I think that's awesome.
Yay! Me too. Second that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Here,
I'd like to back
I don't think
scratch
it's enough.
Tony. You guys remember Tony?
Tony.
Yeah.
How's Tony
I
doing?
saw him at Starbucks, and he's working at night.
Yeah.
He couldn't guest host, but I wanted to give him a back scratch.
Tony in his deep voice.
Yes, he's an
Yeah.
amazing voice.
Mm.
And I'd like to back scratch our guest,
Well, thank
Tom,
you
for
Thank you.
coming
Thank
on the
you,
show.
Tom.
It was really great.
I really
I
enjoyed it.
second that back scratch.
I third it.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Wolfie. I'd like to give a big back scratch to the Golden Gate Guards for throwing a fabulous run up in Yosemite. It's gorgeous, as well as David for teaching me how fun twisties can be on the motorcycle. That was just awesome. And finally, I'd like to give a big back scratch out to my friends Eric and Christian in Toronto, as well as a big hug. They're kind of going through a rough spot. Christian's mother is apparently in the hospital. About it for me.
Well, this is Clay. In addition to my regular back scratch, my partner Bill, who puts up with my craziness. Big back scratch, or butt scratch in her case, to Miss Scarlett, who in her wellness exam a couple weeks ago, we found out that she's got a little cancer growing on her left elbow in the form of a mast cell tumor. And we're trying to figure out what to do with that. Which leads me to my other back scratch for a young lady named Bianca, who we ran into on Memorial Day when we were out walking the dog and head kind of spinning from the diagnosis. She turned us on to a nice holistic vet over in West Portal. Had a great initial meeting with them and have a follow-up in a couple weeks. And we'll have to make some critical decisions about, what kind of care we're going to do, Eastern or Western or some mixture of both. Scarlett don't give a shit. She's like, give me a treat, take me to the beach. She's fine. Yeah, looking at her, you would have no idea that she just got the big C diagnosis. So God bless the little puppy. She don't care. She's a sweetie pie.
I need to see her.
Oh yeah, she loves her some Vito. And Mr. Burtch, any back scratches you have to share?
Well, I want to shout out to the audience of the Gay Men's Chorus, and thank you for supporting us for 35 years, and hopefully we'll be going for many, many, many more, and we couldn't do it without you. It's not fun singing to an empty house, and I'm gonna throw it out there. We were talking about selfless self-promotion, and I want to encourage everybody to go to sfgmc.org and sign up for a ticket for this upcoming concert. It's the 26th, 27th, and 28th of June. It's at the newly reopened Norse Theater, which used to be Norse Auditorium, one of the very first venues that the chorus ever sang. And it's been closed for 50 years, not 50 years, it's been closed for 30 years, and it's just been reopened by San Francisco Arts and Lectures, all refurbished, and we are going to make this pretty much our new performance home.
Nice.
And we're really looking forward to being there, and hope to see many of your listeners in the audience. And you guys, too.
Looking forward to being there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, we're up over, 1,500 likes now on Facebook. So
We are?
big back scratch to all of our...
No, like 1,050.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Math is hard.
Yeah, that's hard.
Math is hard. Okay, whatever. So, yeah, like I said, 1,050.
Like I said, like 2,000 or whatever.
So,
That's the end of episode 25.
and we will see you next Tuesday.
There you go.
Bye-bye.
Visit us at bearelement.com.